You're not crazy. Basketball is changing. Basketball throughout its history has gone through many transitional phases when gaining popularity. From Wilt putting up video game numbers to Curry pulling up from 40 feet on a fast break, many icons have come and gone to bring the sport attraction throughout the globe today. And it's happening yet again. The sport's going through another revolution. And this time, maybe in the biggest ways yet. In the 77 years since the NBA has been around, it seems that no possibility has been left undiscovered when concerning how to get the sport more popularity or, well, how to make the sport more money. In the NBA's continual pursuit of expansion, there is one market that they have tried and failed gaining over the years. That of course being women's basketball. But over the past few years, women's basketball has kind of been going through a renaissance, especially in the college scene. And a lot of it is due to one certain figure. That of course being Caitlin Clark. It seems that before Caitlin Clark took over the women's basketball scene, there was nothing but hate and animosity towards any women who decided to dribble a basketball. I mean, you'd open up IG comments and see crazy things just because women liked a sport. But one day, I opened up a women's college basketball comment section on Instagram, and the top comment wasn't sexist. The top comment was actually racist. Now, although that's not good, it reminded me a lot of NBA comment sections because it was a post about Angel Reese celebrating after beating Iowa and calling her unprofessional, even though, that's just a normal human reaction. When you succeed, you go want to celebrate. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of how people call John Morant a thug when he hits a celebration, but then JJ Redick will do the same thing and he gets praised. Caitlin Clark has changed basketball so much in a short period of time to where women are somewhat respected within the basketball community. No matter how sexist you are, when you watch Caitlin Clark highlights, you just have to give her some fucking props. She's pretty good at this whole basketball thing. And quite honestly, I don't know if people are gonna like to hear this, but she's probably one of, if not the best college athlete of all time. And I know that's a wild statement, but let's really put this in perspective. Here are just a few of Caitlin Clark's collegiate career records. She made the most three-pointers in a single season by any male or female Division I player, became the all-time NCAA Division I men's and women's scoring leader, became the first Division I women's player to score at least 1,000 points in 2 different seasons, became the first player in NCAA history with 3 career 40-point games, became the first player in men's or women's NCAA tournament history to record a 30 or 40-point triple-double, and she made the most three-pointers by a men's or women's player in an NCAA title game in history. And those are just her scoring records, because she's also one of the best playmakers in college basketball, but I won't even get into that. And this may be the point in the video where a lot of uneducated people think that I need to stand up and I'm doing tricks on it for Caitlin Clark, but I promise you, if any man was doing this in NCAA basketball, you would be doing the same for them. But just because it's a woman, we just act like it's not some of the craziest shit we've ever seen. The WNBA now has an insane opportunity to give a reset to the way they market players. I'm not saying this to be funny at all, but genuinely, as a kid, the only 2 WNBA players I can name was Candace Parker and Brittany Griner. And the only reason I knew who Brittany Griner was because she was being held in a federal facility in Russia. And then the only reason I knew Candace Parker was because she was on an episode of Nicky, Ricky, Dickie, Dawn. I don't even know why I watched that show. That shit was ass. But it's different now. The WNBA can actually market players for what they're supposed to be. Athletes. Before, the NBA tried to market WNBA women's just by throwing them on bags of Ruffles or throwing them in random TV episodes. But now, we can actually market them for playing the sport that they like to play. There was a difference between throwing Russell Westbrook on an episode of Henry Danger compared to throwing Candace Parker on an episode of Nicky, Ricky, Dickie, and Dawn. There's a big difference between a kid watching an episode of Henry Danger and seeing Russell Westbrook and saying, oh my god, that's a player from the Oklahoma City Thunder, compared to a kid watching a WNBA game and saying, oh my god, that's the girl from Nicky, Ricky, Dickie, and Dawn. The best way that I could really put into perspective on the way WNBA players versus NBA players were marketed was, imagine that you have a rap page that really only posts mainstream rappers like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, or Kanye, and imagine that page then posted a random rapper that has 1,000 monthly listeners that obviously paid for that promotion. The comments are going to be filled with hate saying this guy's music is ass because it's a forced promotion. People really don't want to see this guy because they don't know of him. Compared to if that same page posts a new Kendrick Lamar song and says, y'all fuck with it. Obviously the comments are going to be more engaging and more accepting of a person who's supposed to be getting the promotion organically compared to someone who paid for it. But it seems that the NBA is starting to learn from their mistakes, as the way they marketed Sabrina in this year's 3-point contest is very akin to how they should have been marketing the players all along. Put them next to their contemporaries in a way that they can shine. Don't put them in no 1v1s or nothing, because we obviously know who's going to win, but they'll get fucking destroyed. Put them in a way that their contemporaries can be highlighted alongside them instead of them being brought down. And then the NBA just has to pray that WNBA players don't say no dumb shit, like when Brittany Griner said that she could beat prime DeMarcus Cousins in a one-on-one. She's not even touching Taiwan, DeMarcus Cousins, let alone my GOAT, Boogie, in his prime on the Kings. That shit still has me mad to this day. But all in all, I'm just glad that the recent success of women's college basketball players may paint a path in the not so far future of women and men, just enjoying the sport together and recognizing that there's talent on both sides, mainly from men who try to bring down women, and that the WNBA as a whole may be a more recognizable league by the end of it, especially since Caitlin Clark decided to end her eligibility for college a year early. She's betting that the WNBA is going to be more profitable soon, and I'm glad that she's taking that gamble. But at the end of the day, it is up to us, the viewer, to see if that bet pays off and if we're actually going to watch these games now that there's more marketable athletes in it. But to move on to the other side of college basketball, we have men's college basketball, where we have one of my favorite prospects in the 2024 NBA draft, and honestly, my favorite prospect. And there's no other way to introduce him than by singing a short little song. I'm
2 days into college and I am 3 lectures behind.
Now, you may be wondering how Jared McCain is changing basketball and pioneering a new future of hoopers. So, let me tell you. From as far back as I can remember, basketball has always been seen as a cool or a tough thing to do. Whether it's on the court itself, you have to have a tough exterior and you have to have a gritty persona, or even in music, particularly hip-hop, where rappers will reference their status in correlation to basketball. Now, this may be a hard topic for old heads to come to terms with, but with every new generation of hoopers coming in, they're kind of doing away with that aesthetic around the sport, and they're making it to where it's kind of more accepted for everyone to be involved, whether or not they have this persona. Obviously, yeah, on the court you want to be a killer and you want to get to your spots no matter what it takes and just dominate. But off of it, you can really be whoever you want, and Jared McCain is pioneering this image. This season in college basketball, he has been on a tear and is definitely the best player on Duke and has had multiple 30-point games, and in general, it's just a straight killer. Even back in high school, he was a killer. But the second he goes back into that locker room, he shows his personality, and he does it unapologetically. The older generation of basketball always talks about this killer mentality and how you had to be fearful of someone. Jared McCain does not care about any of that the second it takes off the court. He's going to paint his nails. He's going to sing songs. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants as long as he's having fun doing it, and I fuck with that energy so much. I think it really does allow for more, feminine men to come to the sport without feeling like they have to have a certain attitude when they play it. You can be just how you are off the court and still play the sport and love it. It's like every single clip I see of Jared McCain is just a straight vibe. Like after he got eliminated in March Madness this year, he made a video singing and then he captioned it something like "singing the pain of March Madness away." Imagine if someone did that after losing the NBA Finals. Like imagine last year Jimmy Butler made a video of himself singing an emo song after losing the NBA Finals. But when it comes to Jared McCain, he does not care what they say about him in that comment section. He's going to act the same exact way he is, and I'm so ready for that energy to come to the NBA. And unfortunately, a lot of homophobia in the NBA community is going to come out due to this change, because apparently painting your nails and singing songs equals your sexuality, which, it obviously doesn't. But it is going to come out as a result of this change. But if this change ultimately does pave the way for more people to pick up basketball as a sport and love it, then I'm all for it. And that's exactly what Jared McCain does with his personality. Everyone who watches the videos, whether or not they even like basketball, they just love the way he acts, because there's this rough exterior that a lot of other NBA players and college players have. And when there's a player dominating the sport that's void of all of that, it's very refreshing to see. Not to mention that Jared McCain's music taste is actually kind of fire, and he be putting me on low-key. But now on to the final figure of the video, and the only NBA player within this video I decided to mention, that being Victor Wembanyama, and how he's also changing basketball. Out of the two untapped markets I've talked about, the first one being women, and the second one being people who have feminine traits in general, you might be thinking, what's the third one going to be about, and how does it relate to Victor Wembanyama? Well, it's the international scope of the league. Now, obviously, the international scope of the league isn't an untapped part of it. In fact, it's been the main focus of the NBA for a few decades now. So why am I talking about it? Well, obviously, we already have Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who have been dominating the league. But now, we have someone like Victor Wembanyama, who, at least for the next decade, is going to be the best player within the league, undeniably, and is probably going to be the face of it. And this is the first time in NBA history where the best generational player is going to be someone who isn't American. This has never been done before. The best player in the 60s was Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. 70s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 80s, Magic and Bird. 90s, Michael Jordan. 2000s, Kobe, LeBron. 2010s, Tim Duncan. Obviously 2000s, you could have said Tim Duncan too. But now, 2020s, barring no injuries, It's going to be Victor. And Victor is just going to change the skill gap within the league. He is a 7'5" guy who can put the ball on the floor, get to the mid-range, shoot it from 3, can block any shot that's anywhere close to him at all with his wingspan, and he's basically just a demigod. Like, Victor Wembanyama is so good, they don't even let you create a character like him in my career. Anyways, I truly believe that Victor Wembanyama's introduction to the league, and therefore domination of it, is going to lead to even more international scale ball being played, and they're going to see basketball as not an American sport, but just a sport that's played all throughout the world, in almost every country. So all in all, the only thing there really is to say regarding all of this is that basketball is expanding. And for me, that's a great thing. There's nothing that I love more than seeing people love the sport that I also love and come together to watch it, play it, and overall, just enjoy it. Whether it's Caitlin Clark pioneering a new future generation of women hoopers, or it's Jared McCain pushing the boundaries of how you can act on and off the court, and overall show that basketball is just a game at the end of the day. A game a lot of people love, but you can be whoever you are off of it. And then Victor Wembanyama, just ready to dominate the whole damn sport. Like, the NBA might be over, and I'm not even saying that as a fucking joke. He's so damn good. So, at the end of the day, like a lot of the people I talked about in this video, push your boundaries. Don't ever limit yourself, and never let your dreams be just